Hi, I'm Lisa Hayden with Channel 6 Central Kentucky TV, community focus on Washington County. And today we are delighted to have with us Miss Julia Spalding of Springfield in Washington County, who's just recently moved back, I guess, in the last, how many years?
2010.
Has it been that long, Julia?
Came back in 10.
I can't believe it. Well, Julia, I want to congratulate you, first of all, on being the Business and Professional Women's Club 2018 Citizen of the, Lifetime Achievement Award recipient.
Thank you.
And so congratulations on that. And I know that the day of the BPW breakfast, where we honor these influential women, they said a lot of things about you that I did not know. And of course, so you're just going to have to repeat those things for this audience. The reasons that they gave for your award.
Originally, my daughter had said that she was doing it for a class, and they were supposed to pick the most influential person in their lives. So she started asking all these questions that she had prepared before. And when I went over it, when I started talking about it, I was like, oh, okay, I completely forgot about that. But just talking about from early childhood, being raised in Briartown, which is now Rosary Heights, we had kind of a perfect balance of Mama, who was very much focused on family, and she was the ultimate, the homemaker, you know, loved her children, that we were her focus. And Daddy was more civic minded. He used to be on the city council here in Springfield for many years, until his health, you know, wouldn't allow him to do that anymore. There are 17 of us. And so I am seventh from the top.
Good Catholic family.
Yes. So 10 are younger than I am. And so you were always, whenever we went out to play, I was responsible for 2 or 3 people at a very early age to make sure that they were okay. And at 5, I was responsible for 2 more people. Everybody had to do dishes. And they'd push a box up to the sink, and you'd stand on it and take your turn doing the dishes at night. So those early experiences of having adults place their faith in me that I could do some things was kind of the foundation of what my life would be like and is. I've always known that if I put my mind to it, I could accomplish it no matter what it was. And I don't know that we pass that kind of information on to our children anymore, and it's sorely needed. And so from there, went to University of Louisville, undergraduate degree.
So you graduated from what now? You probably had Springfield High then?
Right. We were the first graduating class of desegregation, 1967, from the new high school.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And from there to...
Now, where did you go to grade school?
Holy Rosary, in the basement of the church.
The church had an elementary school
right,
there.
In that basement, 1st through 8th.
Wow.
Yeah. And from there to U of L, and most of my career in Louisville, social services, human services.
You got your degree in social work?
Sociology and social work. And...
now, Julia, so you moved to Louisville out of high school, and now did you live on campus or get you an apartment? Or
when I originally went to Louisville, I lived with cousins that summer. I had started summer school and quickly realized that I needed to be on campus. I needed that experience, and it was an experience. I met people from everywhere. Got to be really good friends with people from Asia and Africa and different places, and there's nothing to replace that experience.
Big world out there, isn't it?
It really is. And that's one of the things that has always been one of the things that I've relied on for most of my life. It's knowing that there's a wide, wide world out there. And then my career, again, in Louisville, working with young people primarily. A lot of work with homeless teens, a lot of work with pregnant and parenting teens. And at one point was an associate's director at the Home of the Innocents for a 3-phased pregnant and parenting teen program. And they worked some for the Housing Authority, just a variety of jobs. My daughter, then I worked for an organization called the Louisville Community Initiative. And what we did there was, again, work with young people, trying to help them acquire skills that were going to serve them for the rest of their lives. So many young people who cannot read and write. And you expect them to be able to be successful in this world, and you can't do it. So our job was to help them figure out, how do I get over those hurdles and lead, get to something that's going to lead me to be independent and self-sufficient. That's why we were called the Louisville Community Initiative. I developed a curriculum and trained a lot of social workers. We were a site for practicum students from the University of Louisville's Kent School of Social Work. So students would come there and do their practicums. Trained a lot of people. So it's just a wide-ranging career.
Sounds like an interesting one, Julia.
It was. And then my daughter joined the Army, and nothing in my raising of her said go join the Army, but she was 22, so what could I do? And she went to Iraq 3 times and was injured severely. So I quit my job and moved to, she was stationed at Fort Bragg, and moved to North Carolina to take care of her. And it was about a 2.5, 3-year process to get her the benefits that she needed in order to have as good a life as she could. Part of which meant that I had to take her to California, to the VA in Palo Alto for services there. And they really did save my child's life.
Is that right?
They really did. They worked with her. And when I got there, and they said to me, what is it that you want? And I said, my child is in there and I want her back. And they did. They worked with her. And
did she have what kind of injuries?
PTSD, a closed head injury. It was an IED, and she was a medic with the MPs, and so every time they patrolled, she had to go out with them. And this particular day, she was riding in the back of a Humvee, and when they hit the IED, the truck flipped, and her feet were up under the seat. And so if you flip and you're still seated, what happens to your feet and your legs? And so messed up her feet and her legs. She was exposed in the 3 trips about 6 IEDs, eye problems, all kinds of things. But she's doing well.
Well, you would never know it to look at her.
I know.
The one that presented the award to you?
God is good.
That is amazing.
God
I
is
had no
good.
idea, Julia. So she's a beautiful young lady.
She
and
is that. Very talented and gifted. Arabic studies at the moment, and Dean's List the whole way at U of L. She already has an undergraduate degree in history, but is gifted with languages. And at one point, the Army wanted to send her to an Islamic country, an Arabic country, but she wouldn't have been able to take her son with her, so she didn't do it. And what she has discovered is that it really is a love. And I'm learning so much from her through her experience of learning Arabic. I think they're dealing with religions now. And it's
how old is her
fascinating.
son?
He's 13.
Okay.
My
And where
grandson.
does she live now?
In Oldham County.
Okay. And so here you are now, just a typical mother, talking about your daughter. And we're not, well, somehow we got off the subject of you.
You know, once you have them,
I know.
they do become your life, you know?
That's right. But it sounds like, Julia, through your, being a social worker, you knew what it was to advocate for your daughter. And you had that that education, that experience, that knowledge to be able to push things to get the services that your daughter needed.
And it was a battle.
I guarantee it.
It was a 2.5 year battle to get her what she needed, all the way up to generals. That's just how far I had to go. But again,
and
I have
you
to
did
say,
it.
Oh yeah,
because you couldn't be deterred. I guarantee it.
Nothing would have stopped me. No.
And so, what an honor for your daughter to want to. What a compliment to you for your daughter to want to see you honored in our community, because then after you've moved back here. Not only, and that was when you retired from social work, but I think still you've stayed active with youth here. I know you said you were subbing some in the schools.
I worked for Community Care for a couple of years.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you
after
came.
I got back, and after 35 years, it's like I'm done. It's somebody else's turn. You really do get to the point where, if you've done it for that long, you really do need to do something else.
Right, right.
I've retired 4 times. I drove the bus for CATS, Central Kentucky Community Action, for about 1.5 years. And the latest endeavor is subbing at the schools, and I like it. I really
think
like
you told
it.
me you might apply to be a bus driver.
Right. I've decided I don't think I want to do that. No. I'm a bus monitor, but I don't think I want to drive that bus. No. I'm done.
It's amazing that, there are a lot of women doing that now. And I thought, well, if anybody can do it, Julia can. And I know, we are, Sue Blair, she has driven a bus. And, you all are probably about the same height. I figure, well, Julia can do it too.
Yeah. I like being able to be with the kids.
Yeah.
And you don't get a chance to do that if you're driving. You have to have total attention on, because we have a lot of county roads, very narrow roads, and we do, the bus that I'm on, we do about 100 miles a day.
Yeah.
We do 50 miles in the morning and 50 in the afternoon.
Wow.
Picking up kids and bringing them to school, and then when we get to school, I get off and go in and sub.
Oh, okay.
A lot of days, and
and
I really do enjoy it. It also makes me very aware of some of the needs here in Washington County with regard to young people. There are an awful lot of needs that we as the adult members of the community maybe aren't fully cognizant of, because we don't interact with them. If you're my age, you don't interact with them on a regular basis. And there's a lot of good work to be done. I've in front of me every day, I have a favorite poem, and it says, "To see the good to be done and to ignore it, to hesitate when the moment presents itself, and to know evil and follow it." And so every day I keep those things in front of me, making decisions as I go, and there's an awful lot of good that needs to be done here in Springfield and in Washington County. One of the things we say at Mass on Sundays is we do, and you've been to Holy Rosary, we do a lot of hugging and passing on when we do the sign of peace. And I think about, in this community, how many people don't get a hug in the run of a week? How many people don't have someone to inquire about their well-being, genuinely interested in, how are you doing this week? Is there something you need? Can I help you? Mama used to say she had a problem with, we have all these vacant buildings and we have people who are homeless, and she never could make that connection, like, how can that be? And I think about all of the human beings on the face of the earth, and there are people who are lonely, especially young people, and especially the elderly.
Yeah.
We need to do something about that. And we can.
Oh, yeah.
If we put our heads together, we can do those things.
Yep, there's lots of things that we need to do and can be done. Yeah. And Julia, you are such a leader that I know that you've got some ideas on some things to do in our community. And, of course, you're a member, now president of the Democratic Women's Club in Washington County. Congratulations
Thank you.
on that as well.
Thank you.
And I know there are a lot of things that you would like to see happen there, and new officers for this year. And I know there will be a lot of things coming up on that.
Yes, absolutely.
And we've got a big primary coming up. And so I don't know if there's anything you want to share with us regarding that.
Absolutely. Our big focus is going to be on voter registration and getting people out to vote. We didn't have enough time this last round, so we did 4 days, 2 hours each, and then we did door-to-door canvassing. And I have to say I was frightened by the numbers of people, black, white, young, old, Hispanic, Asian, across the board. Would you like to register to vote? No, I'm not interested. And I'm like, they didn't say I don't want to register to vote. They said I am not interested. And I thought, how can you not be interested in the one opportunity that you may have to make a difference in your community by casting your vote? And when did we get away from people accepting that responsibility as a citizen of the United States and of Washington County and of Springfield, Kentucky? It is your obligation to step up and at least cast a ballot.
I wish everybody saw it like that, Julia.
But I think part of that is maybe we don't teach that. That's some of what I was thinking we as an organization need to place more emphasis on. And how do we do that? And certainly that's discussion that we have every month. And there are some things that we're putting in place to help along those lines. We are even thinking of, could we do forums with some of the candidates? And I tried to get people, even though it said, we are Democratic women of Washington County, I don't care if you're Republican or independent. Do you want to register to vote? Go vote. That's what I care most about.
Right. That's
is
right.
that you live up to that responsibility of doing something to make your community better. So, we'll see.
I know. That sounds very promising.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
it's
looking,
exciting.
yeah.
It's exciting.
And then, too, when I talked with you the other day, you informed me that you were getting the NAACP reestablished in Washington County.
We are. We need 50 members, and we are at 31, I think. And I know some people feel as if this is an organization for African Americans or black people only. That is the furthest thing from the truth. We need all people to be a part of that organization. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what the NAACP stands for. But it's another opportunity again for people of all ages, races, income levels to come together and make Springfield and Washington County the best that it can be. And not coming just when there's a problem. That's easy to do. But let's get together and make a determination and prioritize. What are the things you want to see happening around here? What's not happening that you would like to see happen? I hear people say all the time, well, something for the young people. Okay, what is that? What does that look like? Are you willing to sit and be a part of coming together to do something so that young people can have a place to go and something productive to do? Well, then that kind of ends it there, A lot of talk. But we
need action, don't we,
yeah.
Julia? We need action. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So we're working at it. Please, if anybody's interested, it's the second Saturday of the month. Our next meeting will be at the library, 2:30 on Saturday.
That will be
second Saturday.
So, what is the date on that?
I think it's the 9th of March.
Okay.
And then the Democratic women.
Right, and the Democratic meet the same day
At 11 o'clock.
The second Saturday at 11 o'clock at the library. So, if anyone is interested in either of those or both of those things, Julia, can they contact you?
They can absolutely contact me, and they can all just show up.
Okay.
Do you want additional
Do you want to
information?
give a phone number that they can, or is there anything online?
I have an email address that you could certainly use.
Okay.
It's Julia Spalding 0, the number 0, at gmail.com.
Okay. Julia Spalding 0 at gmail.com.
Correct.
Be sure and get that 0 in there.
Right. Also, another thing, tomorrow, Diane Sims and I and several other folk are going to be meeting with the
Nelson County
counterparts in Nelson County, and hopefully Marion as well, for the Democratic women.
Yeah.
To see what we could do as a region. And again, I don't want people to be turned off because we say Democratic. At this point, we just need people to come who are willing to work to improve our community. Doesn't matter whether you're Democratic or Republican or independent.
Yeah, I think there was some discussion about doing a forum of the Democratic candidates.
Right.
With with Nelson County.
If we can't get the governor, those candidates for governor, then maybe for the lieutenant governors. And again, an opportunity for you to have your voice heard.
And maybe the other offices as well.
Oh, absolutely.
It'd be nice if we could get all of the office.
And that takes work. That takes planning, and that takes people.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, please let us know. And
call Julia. Email Julia, juliaspalding0 at gmail.com.
Absolutely.
And Julia, now this is Black History Month. So, we, of course, I think, so many young people. That's why I was glad to, when we talked about your getting the NAACP reorganized, because I think about the generation before us that worked to get that established in Washington County. And I know at one time there was an active NAACP here, and I think that maybe I don't know, probably your father was a part of that. And I know a lot of, Paul Walker. I can remember talking with Paul about that many years ago. And, all of the generation before us that worked to make sure that the rights of African Americans were being upheld and in this county, and so that being a national organization. So, this being Black History Month, I think that so many of our young people don't realize the struggles that the generations before us and our generation as well experienced.
Right.
In
well, I just
segregation
and I went to a segregated elementary school. My freshman year was the first time that I went to school with people of a different nationality, a different ethnic group, and I was terrified. I had no interactions with white people, none, and it was very frightening for me. And by the same token, I think we don't do a good enough job as the adult members of this community of sharing that information, because people say integration. No, there still hasn't been integration. We desegregated and we passed some laws, but we haven't done the work to integrate folks. And that's some work that needs to be done. And it can't just be African Americans who need to be integrated into whatever. This has to be work that all people have to do. And the NAACP, as I understand it, will do the work for all people. It's not just for African Americans.
Right.
There aren't enough of us, for one thing. I think we're 24% of Washington County.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
So there are a whole lot of other people who need just as much help. Now, that's a place to start, given the history of the organization. But that's not all that I'm not going to be a part of an organization that's going to solely focus on African Americans. I won't do that, because that's not serving the community.
Right. And, but, I think sometimes that this generation might take for granted their rights, and they can, a lot of people are talking these days, they can be taken away from you pretty fast.
Pretty quickly.
From anyone.
Right.
And so we have to be, we need to be vigilant about that, in my opinion, and that's why I'm really glad that this organization is, being reorganized here, because I think that can happen to any of us.
Sure. And it won't just be African Americans.
Right.
It will be all of us. And again, we are supposed to be the adults. We're supposed to do the educating. We are supposed to talk about the history and the struggle and help them understand from whence we came.
Yeah.
And that history is important. But what I am most interested in is, what's the next step? What are we going to do? What's this next step? What does that look like? Yes, there is racism. Absolutely, we know that. Look at Virginia. It's still very prevalent, and it's not just Virginia. The same thing happens in Kentucky and Maine and all over this country. We know that. So, but what does it look like from here? And when are we going to sit at the table of brotherhood, as Dr. King told us, and move beyond that? When do we do that? I get so weary, literally weary, of discussing what happened. We know that. We haven't done a good enough job of giving our young people, the generations behind us, that information, so that they have a foundation to build on.
Yeah.
And that they are at the table helping us to figure out where do we go from here.
Yeah. We certainly need these young people involved.
We absolutely do.
Yeah.
We can't do it without them. We really can't.
Well, certainly you all had a good example, like you said, because of your father and mother, your mother in the family department and your father on the city council, and for many years, and I remember him well, and what a very active member of our community he was. And so I know all 17 of you have certainly been active in this community, in the church, and I feel of course, Pam was my classmate, and known her forever, and gotten the opportunity to meet a lot of her siblings through her. And so I just would like to, we're happy that you're back in this community, Julia, and I just want to congratulate you on your award and congratulate you for all your years of service in many capacities, and thank you for being a part of our community, and I look forward to being involved with you in the future.
You will do that. I promise you're going to be involved.
Yeah, and good luck to your daughter. We're certainly
thank you,
and happy to hear that she's doing well and pursuing all these things. So, and thank her for her service to our country.
I will do that.
Yeah. So thanks again, Julia, for being here, and look forward to seeing you.
Yes, absolutely.